I'm just proven wrong all the way around. Evan Neal is probably going to go number one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the initial mocks had Aiden Hutchinson or either Thibodeau. But I guess maybe those mocks were in the middle of the season, so they had the Lions as the number one pick. Maybe that's why I'm kind of confused as to why everyone's got Neal going one. But it makes sense because Jacksonville definitely needs some O-line help. But anyway, they have Neal going number one again to the Jaguars. Number two, Detroit Lions taking Hutchinson. Houston Texans, Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. Number four, we got the offensive tackle out of NC State.
Ike Ekwonu. Yeah, I like him, bro. I'm not going to lie. I like him a lot.
Yeah, everyone talks highly of him. At the number five pick, the Giants taking Travon Walker, edge out of Georgia.
Big dude. Heck yeah. Big body.
This dude has lost some credibility on this. Six, they have the Panthers taking Trevor Penning.
Oh, good luck. What's the excuse for that one, by the way?
Just says Panthers are desperate for O-line help. This is a little early for Penning, but he has guard/tackle flexibility, and he'll start day one.
I'm glad they said guard first then.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, they want someone to start right off the bat.
If you put him in there guard,
tackle long term.
I feel like, man, if you put him as a guard, I like him early. I don't like him as a tackle early on, though, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. But continue. I ain't going to interrupt you.
I remember in your breakdowns. I remember you talking about that. He's got to move.
Yeah.
Drake London at 7 to the New York Giants. Wide receiver out of USC. Thibodeau, edge from Oregon, going 8. Slipping a little bit here.
Yeah. Okay.
Broncos. This is a really weird mock draft. Broncos, Jermaine Johnson, the second out of Florida State, edge at number 9. Man, usually they have the Broncos at like Devin Lloyd, Kenny Pickett. They got Jermaine Johnson. And then the Jets, this one is even a dude that's slipping a little bit here. Sauce Gardner. He's usually going in the top 5, at least before 10.
No, seriously. So that's what I've been seeing.
Sauce Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati. Washington Commanders, Kenyon Green, a guy that we have targeted.
Hey, and shout out to the Commanders. Also, shout out to the Commanders. They have updated their crest on their logo to have their titles reflected up there. So, I wanted to make sure we mention that as well, since they're going through that whole new rebranding and stuff. Yeah.
The Vikings take cornerback Trent McDuffie out of Washington.
I like him a lot too, man.
Yeah, they got a couple of good corners, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then 13, the Browns, George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue.
Yeah.
14, the Ravens taking a corner, Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU.
That does make sense for them if you think about it. Yeah, with Marlon Humphrey coming back. Yeah, we think Marlon Humphrey was hurt. Marcus Peters got hurt. Remember, both of those guys were out for the season in variety. Marcus Peters did Achilles in training camp. Marcus Peters tore the AC. Marlon Humphrey tore the ACL. Or no, it was the Peck versus us. And then Jimmy Smith, he was in and out as well. So yeah. They definitely need to upgrade it a little bit, man. Get just some younger guys in there a little bit, man.
I guess just in case, but you got to assume, right? It's going to be Humphrey.
Well, you would still want Humphrey and Peters, yes, but who's your third corner? Because Jimmy Smith was already getting older.
He might not be coming back either.
Yeah. So it's like you would definitely want to already have that guy in the wing, and then contract situation with Marcus Peters potentially coming up. Yeah, I could just see that. That makes sense to me a little bit.
15, Eagles, David Ojabo, from Michigan. 16, Devontae Wyatt, Georgia defensive tackle.
Interesting right there. Okay. See, I thought Philly would have went wide receiver a little bit, man. But all right.
Well, they do coming up here. Wide receiver Chris Olave for the Chargers at pick 17. The Saints at 18. Nice. Kenny Pickett. So, they have Kenny Pickett falling all the way to 18.
Okay. Now, what did they say for that, though? What did he say about that, though?
Just a couple sentences. Saints begin a new chapter at head coach and quarterback. Pickett is the most NFL-ready QB in the class. Actually, that would make sense. And that would be good for Pickett if he went to the Saints.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It'd
be a really good fit for him because they have a good team right now. Well,
and you think about you pairing him with Sean.
Comes back too.
I was gonna say you pairing him with Sean Payton. Let's say, man, but just him being in New Orleans, man, in the dome, I do think that'd be good for him, though, man.
Yeah, Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I wish it was Sean Payton still.
Carryover will happen in terms of just culture.
Well, because think about this though. Also, Dennis Allen, you gotta remember, Dennis Allen was a defensive guy. So depending on coordinator stuff offensively, if they still have the same offensive coordinator and position coaches in place predominantly, then it probably will still have a lot of similarities to what they already were running down there. Just because you're just so accustomed to working under one guy and you don't have necessarily this big name that takes over, just, spitballing a little bit there, though.
Oh, yeah. I feel like as long as they could keep that Saints culture, whatever it has been under Sean Payton rolling, they could be fine. Yeah. Eagles at pick 19. They do go receiver, Garrett Wilson. How did they get 3 picks here? Did they?
No, that was from no. It should have been from the Dagon Wentz trade.
15, 16, and then 19. Yeah, the one.
Yeah, I thought it was one from the Wentz
Dolphins,
trade.
The one is from the Colts. It's Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because when Wentz started playing better, when Wentz, it got to like week 13 or 14. And it finally crossed over to he's reached that threshold for them to get a first round draft pick now. And at the time, remember, Wentz was starting to kind of look a little inconsistent and stuff. And they were saying that's why the Eagles really won that trade and they kind of got this steal because they're going to get another first round pick for this year's draft. So yeah.
At pick 20, the hometown team, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Drum roll.
One that I'm happy about. A pick that I'm happy about.
Okay.
Quarterback Malik Willis again. This time we don't have to trade up though, compared to the other mock draft that we were.
I like that way better when you don't have to trade up. What's the reasoning behind it?
Steelers are just looking to get a little more dynamic at quarterback. Willis is a special athlete. Makes sense.
Not true.
This is where it gets interesting though, because who we passed on to take Malik Willis.
Yes, talk about
Devin
it, please.
Lloyd at 21. New England Patriots take him.
Come on, bro! Don't send that man to New England. We don't need that. We don't want that.
I have mixed feelings now about our pick. There's just no way. I mean, this guy is so plugged into the NFL. How do you have Devin Lloyd going pick 21?
Right, wow. And that's my thing. I'm like, if he is on the board at 20, as much as I may be intrigued with the Malik Willis, even if a Kenny Pickett is available, I'm like, bro, it's hard to pass on a Devin Lloyd. I think that he is just a far and away better player right now. And I think that his ceiling in the NFL is going to be so much higher, man. It's just, that's wild. But all right. But
if we have those options,
man,
I'll be a little bummed we don't get Willis.
Yeah.
If he's still on the board, but at the same time, if it's Devin Lloyd,
that's what
we can understand it. Maybe you take Devin Lloyd and then you trade back up in the first round or something, get Malik Willis.
True, you got some options there. Yeah. Just kill it.
Yeah. Raiders, I'll go fast with these. Raiders, offensive tackle Charles Cross from Mississippi State, 23. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Gordon, another cornerback from Washington.
Yeah, they had all the corners, dude.
For the Dallas Cowboys, pairing him up with Michael Parsons at 24. So he goes a little bit later than maybe even we think.
Yeah, but the fact that we're
Bills.
The fact that it's Nakobe Dean, Charles Cross, and Devin Lloyd that we're passing on, it just it made me think a little bit more about this situation.
Oh yeah, he's an offensive tackle.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Right? And I'm like, Charles Cross, like, dude, good. He's the guy that can come in and play right away, I think. So yeah.
Got the Bills taking Treylon Burks at 25, receiver from Arkansas.
Who'd you say y'all was taking? Hold on. Who'd you say y'all was taking in Buffalo?
Who are you talking about?
I thought you said y'all was taking somebody. And you said we taking something in Buffalo. I couldn't hear you.
No, I just said Buffalo. I'm not associating me or we with Buffalo. If you want to.
Oh no! Because maybe it was the headphone. That's what it had to be. Then okay, I understand. Technology. We're blaming on technology.
Are you disassociated from them?
Oh man, I just I thought that was I thought you had taken over that
last podcast.
Oh, chill, man! You doing too much there. You doing too much.
we can check the tapes.
You doing too much. You doing too much. Chill out. Even though I do recall you having a Bills hat on before we went live, I'm just throwing that out there. But I'll leave it alone. It's all good. It's all good, man. All right.
We got the Titans, another guy that's slipping down the boards. Tyler Linderbaum, Iowa center. Well, I can see that happening. I feel like he could go anywhere top 15 to just I don't want to say out of the first round, but bottom of the first round.
But into the first round. Yeah, because number one, he's a center. Number two, like I said, he's still on the smaller side. So it just depends on the scheme. It depends on how, do you believe that he's going to be able to move bigger body nose tackles that you're going to be facing in the NFL. But I don't think that should scare people off, honestly. I think that he's still going to be fine. His athletic ability is really, really good, man. All right, but who we got next on this list?
taking a receiver, Jamison Williams at 27. Some reinforcements if they lose Chris Godwin.
And he is a guy that we talked about as well, man. Obviously, he's coming off the ACL, but yeah, he's definitely a guy that we were looking at, man.
Fourth or fifth receiver right now going off these boards.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
He's a dude I like. I would like to have him with the Steelers. Packers, Boy Mafe, edge from Minnesota. A lot of edges going in this mock draft. Miami Dolphins at 29, taking Tyler Smith, Tulsa offensive tackle. 30, the Chiefs, Dax Hill, safety from Michigan. 31, Bengals, Bernhard Raymond, offensive tackle, Central Michigan. And then the Lions, a dude that really falls here, Jordan Davis, Georgia defensive tackle at 32, last pick of the first round.
Man, so Detroit went double D-line then, huh? Aiden Hutchinson and Jordan Davis trying to shore up that side of the ball.
That could be deadly.
Cincinnati, Bernard Raymond, right, that you said?
Yeah, offensive tackle.
I like him. I got to watch him more, though. I got to watch a little bit more of him, man, because I wasn't too fond of him initially, but I can see why he would still be, that first-round grade and first-round talent, but I definitely got to cut more tape on him, man. But they got us taking Malik Willis at 20. Now, how do you feel about that, though? And in the chat as well, man, let us know. In terms of, some of the names that we talked about that were still on the board when we were picking at 20, not having to trade up that we passed on. We've
Devin
obviously talked about
Linderbaum.
N'Kobe Dean, he's another guy. Bernard Raymond, all these different offensive lineman type, like even a Jamison Williams, who's coming off the ACL injury, obviously, but he was the speedy, big play receiver from Alabama. Yeah, how do y'all feel about that, man? Do y'all
if that was your board, who would you take?
Are y'all going 20? Are y'all taking Malik at 20? Let us know in the chat, and we'll read some of those off, see how y'all react to that. But for me, man, with Devin Lloyd, if he is falling to that extent, man, as much as I'm intrigued by Malik Willis, I really do believe that I would have a hard time with that pick, man, just because I feel like one is already going to come in ready to go in the sense of I can plug Devin Lloyd in right now with the Devin Bush and I still feel good about it. You know what I mean? I can plug him in with the Robert Spillane and still feel good about it just because he's so different than anything we have. And I just think that the ranginess that he has in coverage, his ability to play man or zone, I like him at, like I say, he can go and rush off the edge. He can blitz at a high level. I just think, man, that versatility is not something that you just worry about for this season. But this is like, man, you start here and then we're talking a 10-year career, obviously barring injury, anything catastrophic and stuff like that. But to me, he has that freakish athletic ability that you're looking for in today's NFL, and especially at the linebacker position. We talk about needing speed because if your middle of the defense is slow, like we hear Coach Thomas say all the time, then you got a slow defense. But Devin Lloyd, man, he definitely is a guy that would bring a whole nother edge to that part, man. So I think that for me is the one that I feel it the most because, like I said, N'Kobe Dean, when we really broke him down, we said he is what Devin Bush should become. So we don't necessarily need two of the same players. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm cool on the offensive lineman. I wasn't as worked up about passing on Charles Cross or Tyler Linderbaum because I do feel like, man, if you upgrade that defense, I think, man, you can still score you a lineman here or there later in this draft or even in free agency, right? Because we've talked about that still being an option on the table as well.
Yeah, if Devin Lloyd's available. Well, first, let me put it to you this way. I would bet some serious money that he.
I seriously don't think he's available, bro.
Or 21.
Right.
I was going to say, I don't think he's falling out of the top 10, but that always could happen. Maybe he goes in the early teens, but no later than 12 15, or 13, in my opinion. There's just no way.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I mean, he's one of those guys we talked about. We said if he is available in the 15, 16 range, he is a guy you consider trading up for. I didn't even want to trade for Malik Willis at 17, but like you said, if you're talking about Devin Lloyd, I just think that he is a far and away better prospect right now. Whereas we know with Malik,
especially where the league's going, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bunch of these teams, especially if you're a smart run organization like the Denver Broncos, like a lot of people have Devin Lloyd being mocked to them. I just don't really see them passing on him.
Yeah, and why would you, right? Because to me, I think of when I look at who do they have?
Unless you're going quarterback, but they didn't have the Broncos.
But my thing is this, though.
They got edge out of Florida State.
Well, because I say to myself, if you're talking about them taking quarterback, if they think about how we talk about Mason Rudolph. Think about how Kevin Colbert talks about Mason Rudolph. Mason isn't even a first or second round pick, right? Third round pick. they have a first-round draft pick in Drew Lock. So if we're going to continue second round pick in Drew Lock. So if we're going to continue to, extend all of these extra chances or just this long evaluation, you got to imagine Denver is going to want to probably do similar things, even though they brought in Teddy Bridgewater last year. It's like they still think that they got something in that guy out there, man. I don't necessarily believe it because he's been way too inconsistent for me, but you still can see the talent, though. And that's the part for if I'm thinking about Drew Lock versus Kenny Pickett. What's the biggest difference, or how much of a separation is it either way? To me, I say Drew Lock because he has the NFL experience, but I think both of the guys are, going to be a little bit more work that needs to be done with them for them to get to where we all would like them to be in the sense,
From what I'm hearing, I was actually listening to Schlereth because he's got those Bronco connections on Coward yesterday. Yeah, he was thinking they're going to do veteran quarterback a la like Jameis Winston or Mariota, something like that. Yeah. Maybe some type of competition with Drew
They're supposed
Lock.
to get Aaron Rodgers, right? Come on, man.
Well, that's what he said. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, because they're on pins and needles right now waiting for his decision. They just want to know.
Right.
Some people he was saying too are in the mindset of like, okay, we get Rodgers for like 2 years or something, but then we're in the same exact spot we've been in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 100%.
Ever since Peyton Manning left. So some of them, as surprising as it sounds, don't really want him as bad as what maybe it looks like out on social media. Put it like this, though. I
just feel like they would say that now, but if they win a championship like they did with Peyton Manning, they would not be complaining.
It's worth the trade. That's what he was saying, too. He's like, I would trade
bro. Absolutely.
A legitimate shot at a championship over the next 2 or 3 years, even if it doesn't happen for unknown commodities, for taking
you rather have had the opportunity than to not have had it at all, without a doubt, man.
100%. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else with this Willis, Devin Lloyd. I mean, Sauce Gardner dropping to 10 and this mock, it starts getting interesting because I would start considering trading up for him maybe if he gets into those early teens.
Well, yeah, I know you're a big Sauce fan too, man. There's so many other dope
dudes on the board though with Willis, Lloyd, Linderbaum, Cross, Nakobe Dean. Maybe you just wait it out and you have one of those dudes drop to you.
Well, and that's my thing,
for Gardner.
Because I'm like, if those type of guys are available, I don't think you need to trade up because it's kind of like, man, the talent gap between those guys isn't like that. And since we do have multiple needs, you could, in a sense, go best player available if the draft falls to us like that. Now, and that's the beauty of these type of exercises, though, because we know the draft can work out in all type of ways. All it takes is one team doing something they weren't supposed to do or weren't projected to do, and the whole draft is blown up. So, yeah, I mean, it could fall like this. I doubt it in terms of how many of these guys that we think are top 5 or top 10 commodities fall into the back end of the first round like that. But if it does happen like that, I mean, we would definitely be sitting in a really good position, man.
So with Malik Willis, I thought about this a little bit yesterday, or any quarterback that we would take in the first round. I know it seems like we'd be going with Mason right off the bat. And I would assume that we would. He would be the week 1 starter no matter who we drafted. I would say no matter who we brought in, but I think if we bring in like a Mariota, that's going to be like an open competition.
Oh, no. So I think you're talking about like from a draft. Yeah, if you're drafting somebody, Mason's going to be starting week 1.
He's going to be starting.
Yeah, unless something like crazy happens where the guy, whether it's Kenny, any of these younger quarterbacks come in and they're just, through the roof with their development. Yeah, so but we don't anticipate that, though. Yeah.
Yeah, with that, with the thought that, you know what, even if we draft the guy, Mason's going to be starting week 1, that made me think we're not going to address the quarterback early on. We're going to draft someone maybe in the 3rd or 4th round just as a project to have in the wings. But we did do this back when we drafted Ben. I know this is a completely different era now because once you draft a quarterback, especially in the 1st or 2nd round, they're kind of expected to start either week 1 or they're definitely going to start at some point. Whereas in this case, that may not happen. Steelers, how they operated with Ben, we had Tommy Maddox. He was supposed to, I think, just sit the whole year. I mean, Cowher being more of like the old school coach too. It was the injury to Maddox that got Big Ben in. So now I'm thinking more and more, they could just draft a person and do the Trey Lance method because we did do that with Ben. Yeah. Especially if Colbert's going to have final say on the draft.
Very true, which we heard him talking about.
I don't think we really expected maybe a month or 2 ago, but after hearing some of these quotes, it looks like it's going to be his draft.
Yeah. that definitely is the case. That was the vibe that I was getting as well from it, man. So, it's going to be interesting, bro. This is definitely going to be really,
I'd be bummed
really
out about
man.
that. You draft a rookie QB, especially in the first round.
Yeah.
You know my thoughts. Just put them out there. Right. I'm ready to go.
No, I get it, man. But at the same time, when you do that and they fall flat, now you're over here 2 years later hollering, we need to draft another guy. And yeah, that's the part for me where I'm just like, why set a guy up for failure when we know for a fact he's not ready for that situation? We can look at Kenny, we can look at Malik, we can look at any of these quarterbacks, and we could all tell you right now, none of those guys to that extent are ready to come in and just be day one starter. Like
Kenny, I'd say.
But he's still limited. I mean, we just said Kenny is what? Compared to Drew Lock in a sense? Or do you think he's better than Drew Lock right now on day one?
Oh, yeah, better than Drew Lock. Yeah. Easily.
But how much? No, not easily. How much?
I think Lock's got the arm talent. He's got the physical tools, you could say.
Yeah,
but Kenny,
and he's had some plays in the NFL as well, though. He's made plays in the NFL.
You could talk me into him just from the standpoint. I'm like low key somewhat an insider on the Broncos right now.
Yeah,
players, but they brought in, I think it was his old QB coach, or he had some type of connection to a coach that they just brought in from whenever he finished 4-1 a couple seasons ago and actually had a nice little run to end it.
Yeah.
And then everyone was hyping him up going into his sophomore season. So, they're like, okay, now he's got his old guy back in. Maybe he can go back to those old ways. But no, I'd still take Pickett over Lock. If we had a bet right now, if they start Lock with the Broncos,
think about this though.
Pickett goes somewhere else. I'd say Pickett has the better year next year.
But this is my biggest issue. The fact that we can legitimately talk about those two guys in the same vein, that doesn't make me get excited. Like, you know what I mean?
No, we could say the same thing about Mason if we're talking with
right. And that's what I'm saying. So
drafting Kenny and Mason next year.
Yeah. So it's like for me, none of those guys make me feel like they should be out there early. None of those guys made me feel like, oh, they're ready for whatever. Like I'm like, nah, I would much rather bring these guys along at a little bit slower of a pace so they can fully develop and fully get acclimated. And when they do get this opportunity, it's not deer in the headlights like we kind of saw with Mason that first year. And then think about now, 3 years removed, he's still doing damage control from the first season. When people bring up Mason, they don't talk about any success. They say, oh, that first year, he was terrible. He was this, he was that. That's stuff he deals with. But if you didn't have him out there that first year, now granted, that wasn't the plan. Obviously, it was because Ben went down. But if he's not out there and he has time to develop. That was
his second year, though.
You're right. Correct. I stand corrected on that. But you understand what I'm saying, though, in the sense of when the timing is right for him to be out there, because he was not supposed to be out there week 2 of the second season. He was not. But I get what you're like, for as a whole, I just feel like you have to take a little bit more time with these guys because even, like you said, this is a prime example. Then if that was going into Mason's second season, he still wasn't ready for that move just yet. So just imagine if you're talking about drafting him, putting him out there week 1 of his rookie season or week 5 of his rookie season. Like, I just don't feel like that's setting him up for success.
What helps your point is looking at last year's draft class, actually. Trevor
Lawrence, I mean, you saw those guys as well. And Trevor,
actually,
I mean,
all the guys struggling outside of Mac Jones.
Right. And we said with Mac Jones, even his success was still very dependent upon Belichick in terms of winning games with 4 pass attempts. We talked about that. I mean, that's not something that we, gawk over and be like, oh, yeah, this is awesome. Look at what our quarterback did. It's like, nah, that ain't good. I mean, it's like you got the job done. Yeah, but that's not what you want as a quarterback in the first round. Heck no.
Zach Wilson struggled. Lawrence, obviously Fields. I remember you talking about Fields that you would have sat him up in Chicago. You were good with like starting Dalton the whole year. Well, he did.
Yeah. Well, the reason that
that was more.
It was Dalton got hurt.
Injuries,
right. No, it was because Dalton. Remember, Dalton got hurt, so that was
Dalton
why Fields
got hurt. Fields went in, then Fields got hurt. Dalton went.
Right.
That's basically
so that was all that was, man. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't have an issue with the execution of it because when you're dealing with injuries, sometimes you just have to put those guys out there. But we saw a mixed bag with even Justin Fields. Athletically, he was able to overcome things, but in terms of his passing, we saw he was inaccurate at times. He was missing at times. Even the game that we played him, he was missing at times. So those are some of the things.
Torched Mollett on that final drive.
Ain't that the truth, right? But even with him, I mean, think about how talented he is compared to Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and company. I don't feel like any of those guys are Justin Fields right now. So once again, it's kind of like if I didn't even want Justin Fields playing that early, why the heck would I want these other guys playing that early? You know,
philosophy. In general. What about if you were the Jets or Jaguars last year though, with Lawrence and Wilson?
I don't think
Lawrence,
you have a choice.
To be starting
you have to. Yeah, if you're a top 5 pick at quarterback, bro, you are starting day one. There isn't a competition. There isn't a discussion. That's just how it goes. So you understand with that. Yeah, it's going to suck, but that's why those guys get picked where they get picked. And that's why they get paid the way that they get paid, because the expectations are that they're going to be able to come in and turn that franchise around today. But as we know, man, that's not always a given. And that's why with the draft, it's always a crapshoot, because just because a guy excels in college does not mean he's going to excel in the NFL. It's a different ball game. It's a different caliber of athletes at this level. Everybody is great. Excuse me. Everybody is fast. Everybody is smart. Everybody does the things that you might see 1 or 2 guys do collegiately, right? You might, only when we play Alabama, we got to deal with this. Only when we match it with Clemson, we got to feel like this. Nah, that's every day. Should you get that in practice? You know what I mean? So that's the part for me where it's just like, I'm always cautious, especially with those quarterbacks. Other positions, not as much, but with the quarterback, because they got that ball in their hand every single play. And they have so much they have to know, so much pressure on them. And they can lose you a game so much faster than any other position. I mean, we even saw what was it? Ian Brook last year at Notre Dame, right? He comes into New Orleans Saints. First 2 plays, what does he do? Pick 6. And you're like, bruh, we in a hole out the gate? Like, that's the stuff that I'm just like, no, baby. That can get you hurt, man. That'll get you hurt in a big way, man.